Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to our umpteenth episode of Silicon Global Online. Ask a VC anything. So hope you're ready. Hope you're all signing in. I see you signing in there, participants. Thank you. So today we're going to be speaking with a very famous venture capitalist and a leading venture capitalist from China. And I've known James Mee for several years. And so in a moment, while we're getting all warmed up here, I'm going to introduce him. But meantime, I'd like to welcome you to our episode today. We're going to be on for an hour. James and I will be chatting for a little while, and then we'll open it up to Q&A. So James reminded me that today is the start of the Dragon Boat Festival. And so we understand if you have something else to do today. But if not, please join us here. And let's welcome James. Hi, James. How are you?
Hi, Rebecca. I'm good. How are you?
Good. Good to see you. I know you're in Shanghai. So
Yes.
Yeah. So how are things in Shanghai?
Things are probably 70–80% back to normal.
Okay. Good. That's reassuring. That's farther along than it is here in the U.S.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. So all of you people who are still signing on, let me just say a few introductory words about Silicon Dragon Ventures, the brand that I created out of my first book, Silicon Dragon. Of course, you all know that, right? You all know Silicon Dragon, the first book. And we've gone on to do videos and this series online and a mobile app and our newsletter and our Circle membership. I know several of you are members of the Circle membership. And thank you, James, for being a member of that as well. Appreciate that. So here's my 3 books over here on the side, which kind of tell you a history of what's been happening in Asia tech and venture for the past 15 years. The second one, Startup Asia. And the most recent one, Tech Titans of China. Yeah, I don't want to cover up the name China there. So anyhow, hope you're all warmed up now to join us online, James and me. So ask a VC anything. It's time that we bring James in here, and now let me introduce him. James is the founding partner of Lightspeed Partners China. And I like this casual photo of James here. And he tells me that's in Alaska. Is that in
at the Valley Park.
Very nice. It's very nice. So, and a little bit about James. There was so much about James that it fills this slide. So James, born in Shanghai, lives in Shanghai. Physics grad, Fudan University. Princeton grad, electrical engineering MS, Master of Science, Electrical Engineering. Then he went straight to Silicon Valley as a manager at Intel. He was at Intel for a few years. And then, James, you did a startup then, iTelco Communications, Silicon Valley in China. Okay, yeah. You can tell us about that, what it was like to be on the startup side. And then you really made a leap here to Google, head of Asia products in Silicon Valley, and then transferring over to Beijing as head of Google China. And I remember that period very well, when Google was really trying very hard to get into the market and fighting Baidu. So then James went on to be Director of Corporate Development, Asia Investments at Google for a few years. And James, that's when you led the investment in Baidu?
Yeah, investment in Baidu and a company called Dianping. Now it's Dianping Meituan, Ganji, and a number of other companies.
Okay. But, you know, it was interesting that the Google and Baidu comparison here, the contrast. Here you are at the search company, and then you're buying into, Google bought into Baidu, the leading search company in China. Bought a stake in it, a small stake, right? A small stake.
That's right.
Yeah, so, but then for those who've been following Silicon Dragon, you know how that story unraveled or unfolded. And Google withdrew from the market. Baidu ends up being the market leader by far. Baidu is still the market leader, although it has a lot of competition now for the search space, and search is definitely changing quickly, like a lot of other technologies in China. And we'll be talking more about some of James' investments that he's done from Lightspeed China Partners. He's a founding partner at Lightspeed China Partners, which was a spinoff of Lightspeed Venture Partners, which you were there for 3 years as managing director between Silicon Valley and China, right?
That's right.
Okay. And then you decided to spin off Lightspeed China Partners as its own fund in 2011. And that went on to now have 7 funds and $2 billion under management. James just updated me on that 2 billion, because last I checked, it was something like 1.8, now it's 2.8, 2 billion, but anyhow, growing and has done extremely well. As you can see here, James is a top 100 global VC. He's ranked 21. And the year before, you were ranked even higher than that, weren't you, James?
Yeah, I think I was ranked, I forgot, it's number 12 or 14. And yeah, but it's just an honor to be on that list.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's a coup for sure to be on the top 100 VC list, and that's ranked by performance of exits and acquisitions. And James has had a lot of exits, 7 IPOs, including 2 that were over 100 billion, and the 2 I know, these are Pinduoduo and Meituan, which I wrote about in my book, Tech Titans of China, as 2 mega IPOs that James was. James, you were the first investor in Pinduoduo, right?
I was actually the second one. I had the opportunity to invest in the first one, and there's some internal discussion, and we couldn't get the internal group fully comfortable. Yeah, and so we eventually convinced the group to do it as a second investor. So
Okay.
it's 3 months after the company started.
I see. All right. Well, I think people want to know about Pinduoduo, so we'll talk a little bit about that too. What it is, what it does. They want to know about Meituan too, because people on the call today are from all over. They're not just from China, where these names are familiar, or Silicon Valley. They're from other geographies. So I asked James what he does in his for R&R. Spare time. And of course, James, you like that show or that movie or series, Billions, right?
In the COVID-19, I was when I went to US in March, I had to be quarantined for 14 days. And when I came back to China, I have to be quarantined for 14 days. So a lot of Zoom calls, and but I get a little bit more time and to catch up on some of the binge watching of the TV shows. One of them I like is the Billions.
Right. So. Yeah, I need to catch up to that one. I need to. I'm not quite there yet. I'm still on another one, another series, but okay. This will be my next one, because there's several people have mentioned it to me and said it's really good, and yeah. you can't stop watching it. So I get that. So travel, hiking, and reading. or three other?
Not much travel internationally these days, and it's given all the restriction. Reading, a lot of reading, yeah.
Yeah. So what's the last book you read?
There are two books I kind of wonder, I refreshed a little bit. It's a book I really like. It's Microsoft CEO, Satya. He wrote the book called Hit Refresh.
Oh,
Yeah, that's a really good book. I think it's, I certainly really like the concept of the growth mindset, but the way Satya actually use it and build a culture at Microsoft around that, I think it's a really transformative.
sure.
Uh, and so I kind of share that with a lot of the founders, companies that we invested, and also with our team members. And we do see kind of differences it makes.
Okay. Well, that's good. So you share that with your portfolio company founders.
Yeah, actually, yesterday I queried one book to one of the CEOs, and actually I was potentially will be investing, and he's curious about that.
Oh, okay, good, good, good. So, any other books on your reading list coming up?
There's another one I'm in the middle of it, is a book called Leadership, and it's written by John Hennessy. He's ex-president of Stanford and also entrepreneur, and he's on the chair of the board at Google Alphabet.
Uh-huh.
And that's a good one as well. So I'm
Yeah,
almost finishing it.
yeah. So you have a lot of Google experience. You worked at Google for a long time. How has that impacted your thinking as a venture capitalist today?
Um, I, my Google experience, I think I joined i- as an employee number 800. I turned down Google offer as an employee number, I think it's about 30 back in 1999. I really want to do my own startup. That was a big mistake. But the fact that I came back, 800 people is still small compared with what Google is today in terms of number of employees. So I just saw the level of innovation, thinking out of the box, working with a small team, moving very fast. Um, that actually it's still a very much an entrepreneur startup phase, right? It's a
Hmm.
2003. Um, and also I have the benefits of being at Google and looking at everything cutting edge, and looking at the future trends. And I run all the products, and also start to build Google China. That's another thing, is building a startup from zero. So all these really help me when I do venture investments and working with the entrepreneurs, and many of them I invest the company was just an idea and maybe one or two, three founders, and that's kind of the experience I went through, kind of at Google.
Right, right. And what about your experience as a founder before you joined Google?
That also helped. It's a little bit painful because I turned down Google offer to to be
To
an
do your own startup.
early employees of Google, and when the startup, I think we raised 8 million in Series A back in 1999. That's the booming cycle of the internet.com bubble.
Uh-huh.
Then the bubble bursted, and we struggled to raise the Series B and managed to raise another 8 million, but it didn't really succeed, the startup. Even it has a very good product, but really didn't have the right business model. And we were building a global cloud services with a lot of the internet
Yeah.
and telecom combined, even including like Zoom like feature.
Oh,
But
yeah.
yeah, but we were selling to telecom service providers, and which is not ideal for a startup. But
I see.
all those lessons learned, that helps when I do investments. Yeah.
Sure. So how do you manage your time? I mean, because I saw you're on well, it's an umpteen number of board seats. How do you manage your time?
Yeah, that's 15 is I would say in the US standards it's high. In China actually it's pretty normal. I have seen other peer VCs on even a larger number of boards. To me it's actually I try to maintain to that level. So a lot of board meetings, update calls with portfolios. But I spend most of my time, I think it's existing portfolio, looking at the new ones, but a lot of them are recruiting because building a team here, finding a strong people and integrating them, that takes a lot of effort. I think it really pays off. Even you have to spend a lot of time and just talking to many of different candidates. Um, but the COVID-19, I think, give me some benefits, kind of get some extra time and step back a little bit. And I think that's very important. And looking at the trend and looking at what's important strategically, instead of just immersed in a lot of the deal meetings and. Um,
Sure.
but
So,
time management is always challenging.
oh yeah. So, you must be one of those people who only needs about 6 hours of sleep.
No, I need 8 hours.
Oh,
I
okay.
need 8 hours.
All right. All right. Well, I'm glad to hear you need the 8. So we don't want you pressuring yourself too much. Um, but so speaking of COVID-19 and your ability and giving you time to rethink and strategize again, how has it changed your investing strategy?
Yeah, it does has impact. I think we have few portfolio companies in online travel. One of them is the Airbnb equivalent in China called Tujia. They were affected. Fortunately, the domestic travel is recovering a little bit, so they are seeing more business. But overall, travel related are really seeing the biggest impact. And some of the restaurant, the online and offline combined model, if you have an offline presence, it does has impact as well. So I think going forward, we were seeing sectors actually more net boosted by the COVID-19 kind of change people's behavior. So for example, online education, all the kids are not going to school, staying at home, parents sign them up for online tutoring. That's really all the portfolios we have in the online education is really seeing a boost. Video conferencing, we have another company, it's a Zoom equivalent in China called Xiaoyu. And they are seeing the first quarter double the paying users. And a lot of the industries we see are thinking about, they have to figure out a strategy to do business more online or virtually because people just difficult to travel to do sales and even within the company, how do you get people together? So doing more things virtually. So they have to transform their business, bring them more digitally and online. So a lot of those are interesting, and I think we observe the consumer behavior, right? And even Shanghai is 80% back, and we some of the statistic we have a company providing all the SaaS system for Starbucks, and the Starbucks data shows they are almost 100% back from their pre-COVID-19 business.
Oh,
Yeah, and but I think consumers some of them they are reducing their spending budget a little bit because there's a lot of uncertainties, um, but they are willing to pay a little bit extra to treat themselves well on not expensive items, but like a meal or food or makeup and just a little bit extra nicer, but not very expensive to purchase.
right.
So a lot of interesting dynamics, I think, post COVID-19.
Okay. Well, yeah. Well, I'm sure you're picking that up with Pinduoduo, your social commerce company. And why don't you explain what Pinduoduo does? Because I think a lot of people on the show don't really know what it does.
Yeah. So Pinduoduo is a e-commerce business, and it differentiates from Taobao or JD, or in the US it's Amazon, is the way it actually let the user to find the product. Typically, user experience of Amazon, you know what you want, right? And then you go on Amazon, you do a search, and then you look at some of the options, and then you pick the one that has a higher rating or the price point fits, and then you do the purchase. That's similar for JD or Taobao. But Pinduoduo actually leverage the social network. In China is the WeChat. Um, and they actually provide a product when you buy yourself, and it's just a normal price as you would get from the other e-commerce sites. But if you get your friend to buy together with different
Uh-huh.
shipping address, and you get a
Uh-huh.
substantial discount.
Okay.
Um, so a lot of the friends are motivated, and as they find a product which is very good price and a good quality, they really want to buy, and they want to share with their friends. And just like you do a weekend window shopping and find something really, really good and a good price, and you might mention to your friends or office mates, and that's the social behavior. They make it very easily accessible through online. So they share the WeChat group, and some of their friends might participate, and they get a substantial discount together. So that's how they started, and it just took off. And it also solves the problem that the people not necessarily know what they want to buy, but they kind of want to discover new things or good
Uh,
price points. And you can do that with the regular e-commerce, but you can do that easily with Pinduoduo. Yeah. And the
okay.
business started less than 6 years ago from zero.
Yeah.
And today, their transaction volume is more than half of the whole Taobao e-commerce. And
Mm.
their market cap now is a Nasdaq listed company, is 100 billion, and more than JD's market cap. So this is a very innovative way to address the user needs and also solve a critical problem for e-commerce, which is the user acquisition.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. No, I mean, I think it's a really interesting business model, and I wrote about it in Tech Titans of China, and I want to pull out the quote that you gave to me then. Um, and this was in reference to Pinduoduo. It says, he said, everybody thinks that China's bot, meaning Baidu, Alibaba, and Tencent, are so big that it would be impossible to disrupt them. But there's always a company in the garage that is going to come out and do something different. And so I think you were referring to Pinduoduo in that case. Like everybody said, well, Alibaba has the e-commerce space all wrapped up. So how could somebody else come in and take their thunder, so to speak? But you knew the founder from way back, um, Charles Wang, right?
Calling.
Um, okay, yeah. So, and Pinduoduo, which loosely translates as much more together, is more like Groupon with games and social networking mixed in. Um, so it's a Chinese app is like a giant flea market on a mobile app, on a mobile platform. But how did you knew the founder from your Google days, or tell us the story about uh, finding him and then and deciding to invest in Pinduoduo early on
Yeah,
before it was an established business model.
yeah. So I joined Google 2003, initially in Mountain View headquarters. Colin joined 2004,
Mhm.
also in Mountain View. So I was really starting to build Google China business initially in the Mountain View and set up an initial engineering team. And he was one of the volunteers tried to help. Um,
Okay.
And that's how we got to know each other. And he struck me as different from the other engineers. And he's probably the only one came to me and say, I want to know how to do product management and how to build products and can define the products and address the market needs. Then I moved back to China and really started the operation here. And he moved back to China as well.
I see.
And he switched from engineering to product management. He's also the first Google China employee left Google and to do a startup.
Oh,
So Pinduoduo actually is his third startup.
okay.
And the previous two startups he did, the first one is an e-commerce selling cell phones.
Oh,
The first startup. I think it did okay. And the second startup he did it with helping other brand companies like baby formula companies, selling baby formulas online. It's a outsourced e-commerce operating service.
I see.
And that business was doing better. It's profitable. And also he tried different things like online gaming as well. So all these build up the knowledge and experience and that really helped in the third final startup, which is Pinduoduo. But the Pinduoduo, when he was trying to think about a third startup, it's totally different from what he's doing today. He came to me, he said, well, I'm thinking about doing the third startup. I want to have a bigger impact. But the first, I would say, what's the idea you're thinking about? That he was actually initially was thinking about to do a mobile service that you can use app and order on-demand service for manicure service.
Oh my
For nail
gosh.
polishing. And I said, why to do that? He said, well, I feel that the people, the ladies doing the manicure service, they should earn more money than the store owners. So that business model will allow them to do that. And I just give the feedback. I said, well, we have looked at these models and it's not very productive because the people have to go to different places. And and he tested it for 1 week and said, yeah, it's not productive. And so we kind of say, hey, let's still focus on e-commerce. But what really started the initial idea of Pinduoduo was actually a US company called Jet.com. Jet.com was raising hundreds of millions at that time. So Colin was curious why they would raise so much. So through my colleagues in the US, we kind of know the Jet.com story. He's a serial entrepreneur, founder of a diaper.com, and sold it to Amazon. And he's doing a new business, which is trying to bring Costco model online. And Colin, even he went to University of Wisconsin-Madison for his computer science master, studying in the US, working at Google, Mountain View in US for 3 years, but he never used Costco. And Costco happened to be my favorite store. So wherever I go globally, when I landed, I always try to see if there's a Costco nearby. I will go there first. So I kind of share with Colin a lot about kind of some of the insights about Costco. But one thing I really like Costco is there are sometimes you can buy things like a golf shirt, Nike golf shirt. It might cost $60 retail, but you can get it for $25, brand new, right? But if you don't get it, you go back in 4 weeks, it's gone. And so I have a group of friends in Silicon Valley, and we always share. It's kind of treasure hunting whenever you go and you find something nice and you share with your friends. And that's kind of I share with Colin as well. So he really felt that this is something could be potentially done. But he thought about in China, the user acquisition is such a difficult thing to do. And the WeChat is growing, but nobody really leveraged that. And so he started with that kind of leveraging the WeChat, the social elements, and to acquire users.
I see. Well, that's great. Well, do you think, and this is somebody actually on the line who wants to know, do you think that Pinduoduo will plan to expand beyond China?
We talk about it. I think the similar model could really work in other parts of the world. And you have WhatsApp and other social media, especially group chatting is popular. But Pinduoduo, I think Colin really want to focus right now just in China. And there's still competitions from Taobao and JD. Even Pinduoduo, his market cap is exceeded JD, but he still feel that there's a lot of work needs to be done. So he's not thinking about expanding yet. But I think this is an opportunity for other startups.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. This could be applied to other things too, where friends recommend, or like even just we shared on the Billions movie or series. Um, so, and here's a question too, because you also have invested in another major hit from China among the ones over 100 billion IPO. So, how does Meituan differ from PDD Pinduoduo? Is it a more local focus, and how do they achieve that? So, Meituan, tell the audience what Meituan does. I know what it does because I wrote about it, but
Yeah,
you go ahead.
sure. So Meituan Dianping is a merger of the two companies. They are in the similar space. One is Meituan, the other is Dianping. So it has really has elements like Yelp, which is the restaurant review, which is provided by Dianping. And Dianping actually started online user-generated restaurant review before Yelp started their business. So this is actually, if you go back to see the business model coming out, actually it first came out of China through Dianping. That really, given the network effect and all the people writing the review want to write it at a platform with more people will see it, so it becomes the dominant number one. And so Meituan really build a business model on top of that. You can do, mostly these are serving the consumers want to do takeout food. They work with all the restaurants and to bring their products, adapted them more suitable for takeout food.
Okay.
And so that business is slightly different from, I would say, Uber Eats and DoorDash. Uber Eats and DoorDash, they leverage a lot of the freelance workers, and when they are flexible, they want to do it, and they get on. But Meituan actually hire these delivery people. And so there are about 500,000 delivery people Meituan hired. And there's some additional ones, and with the peak demand, they might have some freelance people help as well. But what they do is they actually use algorithm to do the smart routing for these delivery people. Given the high density of the population in China, big cities, and for lunch hour, they can deliver 10 or 12 different deliveries. So they have to go to different restaurant, pick it up, deliver to the person, go to the next one. So all these was done by algorithm, and there were about 300 engineers work on the algorithm. And really makes a big difference. So so make it very, very efficient. And so they are the biggest platform for relates to food. And you can get the restaurant review. You can go eat out, eat in person in the restaurant, and increasingly people are using it for takeout food, and especially with the COVID-19.
Oh, so that their business was up as a result of COVID-19?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Oh, there's more deliveries than ever. It seems like everybody's getting their food delivered in China already. So
Yeah. Yeah.
now it must be 80% of people.
Well,
Does anybody cook at home?
well, there's also increase of people cooking at home as
Uh-huh.
well. So people don't go out to dining in the restaurants as much.
I
They
see.
still worry about, right? And you can't wear face masks when you go to a restaurant and eat, right? So so there's also a big increase of grocery delivery. So because
Right.
people are cooking at home.
Yeah. Yeah. So here in Silicon Valley, they just opened up the restaurants to sidewalk dining. So, and they closed the streets on the weekend. So it was very nice. Everybody was out dining outside and no traffic. And
That's
people were
nice.
eating prepared foods, not prepared by them for several months. So it was kind of a relief. Um, but yeah, talking about this whole social element, you know, the socializing of business models. Here's a question from Richard Crone, who's on the line, and he's asked several good questions here. And let me just pinpoint this one. What is your view of social payments such as Venmo? And can you talk about that? And I know it's all mobile payments in China, way ahead of Venmo. But can you talk about this social payments such as Venmo? What do you think? What's your view?
I think it definitely has potential. I think it makes it a lot easier.
Mm-hmm.
And also your friends get to see it. So other people think about, oh, this is something I can use. Um, so just like Zoom, right? And Zoom
Yeah.
is really growing because people need it, but there are a lot of competitions. But Zoom had did such a good job, and once people's using it, and like this webinar,
Yeah.
and then you will see, oh, I will use it to join it. So that kind of a word of mouth of a viral effect through this sharing, that really helps. So in China, it's dominated by WeChat Pay and Alipay. Initially, it was the whole country is almost like 90% is dominated just by one payment method, which is Alipay, because Alibaba is so dominant for e-commerce. Everybody
Mm-hmm.
has to use that to do the payment
Mm-hmm.
online. But talking about a social payment, WeChat came out with WeChat Pay way behind. So they came with a zero market share, but they really leveraged the social network. And they also did something very clever during one of the Spring Festival a few years
Yeah.
back. And they invented this game of people giving red envelope
Oh,
virtually online. So you can give red envelope with like 10 cents in RMB, right? So it's very, very small amount, but it's so easy, and you can share with your friends through the social network. So I can remember during that Chinese New Year holiday, my son was just glued to the screen, right? And he and his classmates would just send each other with like 1 cent, and they try to see who can pick it up first, because they can send an envelope in the group. Whoever hit it first, and they potentially can get it. So a lot of the gamification on top of the social sharing really helped the Tencent to grow their payment user just during that 3 weeks period of a Chinese New Year
mm-hmm.
by about 200 million.
Wow.
That was phenomenal.
Yeah. Yeah. Numbers really matter and really add up quickly in China. So yeah, and here's a question too about retailing. We've been talking about e-commerce and retailing and payments, and it's a question from Richard about merchandising formula and how in-store merchandising formula needs to adapt in this COVID-19 era. And can retailers' own branded mobile apps play in the in-store customer experience? Can you talk about that?
Yeah, I think there has to be I think going forward, China certainly has the COVID-19 mostly controlled, but you see some of the breakout in Beijing, and the city actually has more restriction on the retail business.
Mm-hmm.
US, I think you probably will see there are still cases, but the business are open. So I think it will changes the people's perception and going retail, going to stores. So the online component, I think it will be increasingly more important. Um, and so allowing your merchandising to be easily um, discovered and purchased,
Mm-hmm.
returned, a combination of being in store and increasingly more online is crucial. And one thing I can share in China during in January, when the Chinese New Year plus some additional lockdown for the COVID-19,
Mm-hmm.
most of the retail stores are not open, right? So even when they coming back to work in February 10th, people are not visiting the stores.
Uh-huh.
So what the retailer are doing in China is the salespeople in the store, they are leveraging the online platform to reach out to their customers. So what they did was they used WeChat or with their increasingly, the e-commerce in China are doing through kind of these a short video or live
Uh-huh.
video broadcast. So you can introduce the product in a more descriptive ways instead of just a picture and a text, right?
Yeah.
And then you can do a live broadcast. Say, hey, see this clothing and right how it looks, and you can turn around and you can still feel the fabric, and it's almost like a TV shopping,
See,
but it's to a people that you know, and it's very very effective.
yeah.
So these salespeople in the store, they don't have visitors in their stores, but they can be in the store and do these live broadcasts and reaching out to some customers and interested. I still interested what's the new products, the merchandise that you got in the store. So with all that, we have one of the biggest clothing retailers. Their actually total sales were almost not affected. So that's pretty amazing because they would almost get 70% cut, right? If you just do the offline, but they made it up with all these salespeople in the store, but doing it through online, reaching out to their existing customers, and they can give a coupon to say, hey, if you have another friend, and they can share it, and we'll mail it to you, so you don't have to come to the store. And if there's a size doesn't fit, you can return it. So that really make up all the sales volumes.
So the retailer is doing that, and also the branded company too, the branded good, the retailer and the branded marketer are both
Yes,
that.
yes.
Uh-huh. Oh, that's pretty cool. Do we have that in the US? Does anyone know? Can somebody respond? Do we have that in the US? Okay, we'll let people weigh on that. Okay, Brad Armstrong. Last time I saw you was in Zhangjiagan when you were at Google. My question is about Plus AI. What are the different challenges that autonomous vehicle services are facing in the USA and China and other markets, and how are they being dealt with? For example, cybersecurity and disruptions in the local labor markets. Thank you, Brad, for that question.
Yeah, I think the autonomous driving it's a big trend. It takes a lot of efforts to get the product right. I think it has a big opportunity both in US and China. Um, and security is very critical because literally you have these self-driving cars, right, on the street. And so having a full protection of the data so it's not compromised remotely, it's very, very critical. So Plus AI is one company we did a seed investment. So they do autonomous truck driving. And that's a sector we feel that has very good unit economics, and it's more on driving on the highway and less on the streets in the metropolitan area. So it's easier to make sure the technology works. And so for that, I think the company is progressing well. But there's always about these technology companies started with software layers, but eventually they have to get to a full stack solutions. Otherwise, they just work with the OEMs, and they eventually is leading to a M&A path. So Plus AI is actually doing some of the self-driving truck services for big logistic companies. So that takes additional skill set for the founders to build because you have to do operation, right? But we felt that it's such a big industry opportunity So we also invested underlying technology components for self-driving car, which is LiDAR, a laser-based radar. So we invested a company, now becomes one of the leading company in the world. For example, General Motor, they have a cruise division and they are using that company's product. So that's seeing a very, very strong growth. And the benefits for that is they can serve all the self-driving car companies. Everybody needs that LiDAR. And it's still pretty expensive. The highest end LiDAR was, it still costs close to 20,000 US dollar a piece. And usually you need two on the car for redundancy. And but you also have a number of lower end ones. And but the cost is coming down, but it still tells you the value it generates.
Right.
So that's another company we invested called Hesai. Yeah.
Okay. And actually, Sharon Yang mentioned that she didn't catch the name of the retailer that you mentioned in the prior answer. Could you mention the name of it again?
Oh, to me?
Yeah, she wants to know. Yeah.
Oh, okay. They have different brands.
Different brands. Okay.
Yeah. The Chinese name of the retailer, the group company called the Lingzhi. Lingzhi, they have different brands and they operate their own store, retail store for their brand, multiple brands. They have about 10,000 retail stores.
All right. So, well, staying on this whole e-commerce topic, which seems to be a popular topic tonight, aside from AI and electric vehicles and mobile payments. So, can you do a comparison of Pinduoduo with Amazon Live, TalkShop Live, some of the other plugins, and how are they different from Shops, which I guess Pinduoduo competes with Shops?
I'm not familiar with Shop is it's a US service or
Richard, type your answer in here, and we'll come back to it. Because
okay.
I'm not familiar with Shops either.
I saw Sharon Yan has called VIPS.
Yeah.
Or contrasting Pinduoduo with Weipinghui VIPS.
Yeah, why don't you do that? Yeah.
Okay. Weipinghui VIPS is another e-commerce company. They do more clearance sales. So brand products like the out of season, and they want to clear out their inventory. And so you can think about it's Ross or TJ Maxx online. But they do it in a way that they initially they started with every fixed time of the day. They have a bunch of merchandise that are very deeply discounted, and people go there and buy them. Pinduoduo, in a way, they do much bigger, broad categories, not just clothing or shoes, and they do everything. It's just like Taobao. So everything you can imagine, but they do it in a way that with the group buying, you get a substantially discount. And also, I give you a little bit more details about the Pinduoduo. So there's some very interesting elements on Pinduoduo. Their search function doesn't work. They have a search box. Go do it. Go try it. It doesn't work at all. Intentional. They make it in a way you find your products on Pinduoduo not through search. And there's no shopping cart in Pinduoduo. That's mind-boggling, right? And so a lot of the purchase, they want to do it in a way it's shared with a friend, or it's such a good price, right? And they want people just to make a decision and buy it. Instead of, I want to put in the shopping cart, I want to go to another website, I want to compare price. Then eventually we a lot of times we say, hey, let me put it in a wish list. I'll come back later, right? So they organize in a way, it's more, it's like a social impulsive buying.
I see.
But the price is so low, and then people say, hey, what the heck? It's cost me only $5, right? I might just well get it. And the shipping logistic in China is so advanced given the e-commerce growth. So they can deliver nationwide for $1,
Wow.
sometimes $1 too. So make it a very, very easy decision for these users.
Yeah.
And so another element for that is the whole algorithm behind Pinduoduo is not people looking for products, but actually the merchandising and trying to figure out how to reach the people that fits that category. So they have the algorithm, and you browse through Pinduoduo. Initially, your friend recommends something, and the Pinduoduo actually, once you buy it, and it will recommend something else, and the similar price points, or they will guess what are the other things you need. It's very different algorithm design. Um, so so the merchandising love it because this is another platform, and it gives a huge number of users, and also they can figure out I can reach out to these users, particularly fits my category, price points of my products,
I see.
instead of just waiting for people to search, which is the experience on Taobao. And for that, they have to pay an advertising fee, so I can be ranked higher if someone search. That's the Taobao business model. It's actually, it's the search advertising. That's how they make money. So a lot of details in here on the
Yeah,
Pinduoduo.
oh yeah, it's more complicated than it seems. And also it's very popular in rural areas too, I understand. And is that still the case? That it's
Yes,
more popular in rural areas than it is in urbanized areas?
yes,
So,
it is very true. I think that gives the most growth potential because mobile internet growth is pretty stagnant, and everybody has a cell phone, a smartphone. So tier one cities are people are using different services, but the tier two, tier three, and the more remote area users are getting online, and Pinduoduo is a perfect fit for them. Price point is very low, it's very affordable.
yeah.
Quality actually is decent, and people has a lot more free time. It's not like in the tier one cities, people are always busy going to work, and
Yeah,
they have a little bit more free time. So that social sharing element is more vibrant.
I see.
Um, and I think another very interesting element for Pinduoduo is they allow the farmers, they grow let's say the apples and the fruits, and traditionally they don't make much money because these are perishable goods. The fruits, you have to sell it quickly once you harvest them, and they can only sell to these wholesalers, and they don't pay much.
Uh-huh.
And then there are different tier of wholesalers, everybody mark it up. So eventually when you get to Shanghai, it's probably 7 times more expensive when the wholesaler pay for the farmers. So what Pinduoduo allowed it was allow the farmers to sell their fruits directly on Pinduoduo to people in Shanghai directly, cutting
Oh,
out all these different layers of wholesalers. And the Pinduoduo with such a social sharing, and they can aggregate the users' demand very quickly. So the farmers can sell their apples very, very quickly and solve their problems for perishable goods, but they get much better uh, payment. Usually it's double or triple what they can usually get. So that's something, it becomes one of the biggest in China. And I think it's, and we think about the globally, the social inequality, right?
yeah.
And the people, the farmers, and really working hard, they are not getting much payment, and
Yeah.
that generate additional income. I think that's something Pinotto did a pretty good job on.
Oh, yeah, yeah. So Richard has come back to us and explained what China's Shop Shops is. Says it has personal shoppers as you described in store, featuring products, trying things on for a live following. So that again is sort of a China business model that hasn't really caught on in the US yet, and maybe never will. I don't know. What do you think?
Um, I think there might be some privacy concerns.
Oh, I see.
I think if you go to Nordstrom and a lot of salespeople are kind of your personal shoppers, right? And
Yeah.
you can tell them what you like and they can pick out things and they are very knowledgeable, but they are doing all in store, right? But they consider if it's a COVID-19, not much foot traffic to the store, if you can offer that service remotely, I think there's an interest, but how do you connect with people through the social network, right? And there's through, I don't know, it's people might view that I don't want to have my personal social accounts connected to a salesperson, and
Mhm.
because a lot of my privacy
Sure.
information. In China, it's less a concern. So they designed the product so you can make a social connection on WeChat, but I can block off the salesperson viewing all my personal posting. They won't be able to see anything. It's only just the instant messaging features turn on.
I see.
Um,
I see. So what's your next big hit? I mean, you had Pinduoduo, you had Meituan, two super IPOs. What's your next big hit? What are you working on?
we certainly are working on a lot of the next generation consumer internet services.
Uh-huh.
Uh, but I think increasingly they're more enterprise and
Okay.
tech products. I think one of the IPOs I had was in the deep tech space, and it's a company called InnoLight. What they do is the cloud computing is a big theme, and
Hmm.
we invest in SaaS companies and others. But this company actually really benefited from the cloud service growth and really driving the data center growth. And they provide a critical technology component data center for optical transceiver that helps to the different servers and with communicating to other servers through fiber optics. And that company is doing $1 billion US revenue, over 100 million net profit. And it's a Chinese company, and but really had a superior technology that Google data center are all using their product. So was Amazon AWS. So the company is publicly listed and it's over $7 billion market cap. So we're seeing more of these technology companies, not just pure consumer internet business, are really providing substantial values. And so the self-driving car LiDAR company, for example, it's the revenue is growing really fast. And so we are seeing more of these investments we are doing in our company are becoming a global leaders.
Right, right. So you've had experience in Silicon Valley and in China for many years, and now we're in this point where Silicon Valley or the U.S. and China are going in the opposite, or breaking apart. And do you think that this is going to result in how, Kelman, thank you for this question, do you think this is going to result in two strands of the internet, like electricity in the US, Asia, and Europe?
I'm sorry, I was looking at the question. I missed the part of your question, and I was looking at the online section of the question.
Oh yeah, no, it's okay. No, this is from Hal Kelman online. Do you think there's a permanent rift between the US and China that will result in two strands of the internet, like electricity in the US, Asia, and Europe?
I hope not. And
Uh-huh.
it's unfortunate if we really get down to that path.
Mm.
And I think there's a lot of the internal pressures globally, so there. But I hope that technology, and particularly internet, it's the value for internet is really provides kind of the global marketplace, and everybody can get information, and there's no kind of a the barriers to do that.
Mhm.
But I think there are some pockets of the technology world. There might be people are thinking, hey, we need to have our own solutions. I
Right.
think that could happen. in some of the supply chain, and the people say, hey, we need to have some second source for that solution. But for internet, and I think it's important. It's a globally connected network, and I think it will be fine. We won't see a two separate internet.
You don't think we'll see that? It's not going to come to that.
I don't think so.
So you're investing almost exclusively in China, aren't you?
Yes. Although we work with our partners in US and Lightspeed Venture partners, and also our partners in India, Lightspeed India partners, we will all used to be working together in a global fund. Then we felt that for early stage tech investments, the decision making really needs to be done locally so we can be competitive. Right. That's why we formed the Lightspeed China, Lightspeed India separately, but we still collaborate very, very closely together. Actually, a few months ago, we raised a late stage fund together. Lightspeed US, Lightspeed China, Lightspeed India together. It's a $1.5 billion late stage fund. And it's mostly to support our existing portfolio companies in US, China, and India that's really breaking out. And given the COVID-19 and the capital market change, there's increasing needs for those capital. And so we are the partners for entrepreneurs. We invest them very, very early. And if they have capital needs, we can support them not only Series A, but could be B round, C round, D round, all the way to pre-IPO. Because we believe really the great entrepreneurs, when they build business, there are ups and downs, right? And we really want to help them. So we collaborate through that vehicle.
I see. Well, that's good. $1.5 billion late stage fund that all three groups are in. Okay, so actually, the time has gone by so quickly. I can't believe we've actually gone over a little bit. So we need to let James go on to his day, and everyone else go to whatever they want to do, depending upon what time zone you're in. So yeah, thanks James for answering all those questions. There were so many. And thanks to our partners, Invest Hong Kong, for supporting our series throughout these 2 months. And please join us as we move forward. Our next series, our next show is going to be July 9th, 5 p.m. It's a Thursday again, 5 p.m. With 3 VCs talking about China Tech Titan trends. It's going to be really interesting. We've identified 5 major trends, and so we'll be discussing those. And then we're doing another one, July 30th, again Thursday. And this one is at 4 p.m. because the people who are involved in this are in California. We do have a big audience in California. And then the next Thursday, we have Roy Bahat from Bloomberg Beta. He's investing out of Michael Bloomberg's fund and doing some very interesting things with that fund. And is the third fund they're investing out of Michael Bloomberg's pocket. So this should be really interesting. So then you can always find us online with all of these products. And let's give James a thank you. You can use your, thumbs up signal, or your clap hands logo at the bottom of the screen. So share. Okay, several people have caught on to that. Thank you. I'm going to stop the share here to see how many people vote. Okay, so today, we are, thank you all you raised hands people. Today we are not going to be doing our usual online networking afterwards because we need to give James a break. And if you may have heard his voice, he has a little bit of a tickle in his throat. and we need to give him a little bit of a break. So let's do that. And let's give James a warm round of applause. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good talking
And,
to you all.
yeah, James, you did great. And a toast to everybody who joined us along the way. And we'll see you July 9th. Take care, everyone. Bye.
Take care.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
James. Bye, James. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.